Hi, I'm Patrick from Douglas Fir Design. Welcome to the Router Bits. Every single router table I've ever owned, used, or even seen in a store has had a big square insert in the center, and that's what you mount your router motor to. Now, in a world first, as far as I know, this is a new router table from Timbercon that does not have that insert, so it is totally seamless, which means smoother cuts, easier use, easier to clean. It's closer to a high-level industrial machine like a spindle molder in some ways than most of the router tables that I have used in the past. Now, the main reason for this seamless, elegant top is that the actual lifting operation happens from the side rather than through the top of the table. So this is designed with a little handle that you plug into a cog on the side, and you actually raise and lower the router from there. Now, you might say, so what? I can raise and lower from the top, which is true, but what I really love about this is that side winding operation is coupled with a very accurate little dial here, which allows you to set very precise measurements without having to measure the router bit. Now, I've tested this 1 mil at a time using this dial with a caliper, and it is spot on. So if you've watched any of these videos recently of mine, you'll know that I've been using a digital motorized router lift precisely so I don't have to constantly be measuring when I'm working. This machine effectively does that same job in an analog way, and it does it beautifully. So the way this mechanism works in practice is you actually rotate the handle on the side, and each full rotation equals 2 millimeters of travel by the router bit, up or down, depending which way you're going. That corresponds to a full rotation on this red indicator dial. Now, the indicator dial is slip mounted, which means you can move it to a zero location. The reason that's useful, say I've just changed this router bit and I want to set zero, that zero will obviously change depending on the height of or the length of that router bit that I've inserted. So I bring this router bit to the point where it's just clearing my square. I rotate my indicator dial to the zero position, and now I can read all measurements off this dial by turning the handle. So that's up by 1 millimeter, it's half a rotation, up by 2 millimeters for a full rotation, and that dial continues to remain accurate all the way through the range of height that you can achieve, you know, like a standard router table. Like I said, I've been using the digital one, and I've been finding that not having to measure the router height all the time is just saving me so much time and effort and increasing the accuracy of my work. And a system like this does the same thing, but without using the little computer and the motor that I'm using. So a lot of you would be more used to using a manual system, but just working through the top. And I find that getting it down here out of the way and coupling it with that little red readout just really helps with your accuracy and the speed that you can reach the place you need to be with your router bit to do the work you want to do. One other feature on this table that is brand new is the dust box, rather than being screwed up to the underside of the table, which is time consuming and difficult if you ever want to remove it, actually raises and lowers on little cables, a bit like Mission Impossible. Uses the same handle that we use for the router raising and lowering operation. Obviously, taking off the dust box is not something that you do frequently, but because you don't have the big square insert, which you can lift in and out, it is more necessary on this table to have that lower shroud be able to fully drop away, and I'll show you how it does that. You just engage this handle, release the little red lock, and then wind it down, and that dust box just fully comes out of the way. Now, it's just hanging there on cables. They're quick release, so you can release them from this box, do any cleanup you need to do, or, you know, whatever you might need to do down here depending on the motor body that you have. And then you can raise that up again. It re-engages with some pins and locks in place, and now it's really firm and in position. Operates as a standard dust box. Now, I don't see a need to take that box on and off all the time, and I think this mechanism works well for the times that I would need to do it. It just makes it easy to get in there and maybe clean the threads on those screws that raise and lower the machine, do any other kind of maintenance you need to do in a really simple way. I hate getting up under there with Allen keys to disengage these boxes whenever I need to get in to mess around with the motor. Come on, get out. Good boy. For this demonstration, the motor that we've decided to use is actually a CNC spindle motor. It's water cooled, and rather than having the speed control and the on and off switch on the body itself, it's actually controlled by an external unit, which is like a little computer that controls everything about the motor. So the speed at which it ramps up and slows down and the speed it runs and so forth. So it's all really accurate. It is a little more technical than your standard router motor. This system can definitely be used with a standard cylindrical body motor, which is what I use on my other router table, but there are some really great benefits about this kind of system. Because it's a water-cooled system, it can run very hard for a long time, and that's why they use this kind of system on a true CNC machine. It has a little tiny fish pond pump that sits in a bucket of water, and it just cycles water through that motor all the time. The other thing that's really unique about this is it's stunningly quiet. This is the router motor running at full speed, comparable to the full speed on your standard Triton or whatever, and I can absolutely talk all over it. So you could, obviously when you're running timber through it, it gets a little more noisy, but so much of that router noise comes from the motor itself usually. This is a high-end system designed for high-level usage. It'll take a lot of hours of routing. It's a fully enclosed system because it's water-cooled. It doesn't need air ports in there, which means you don't get dust in there, which means your motor lasts longer. So all of these things just mean that you've got basically a fully industrial machine running this router table. So if you're in the market for a nice, large, full-scale router table, for my money, I'd be looking for something that offers you the ability to see the height that you're working at really accurately. Once I've used these tables, either the analog or the digital version, I'd have a hard time going back. The other thing that really adds to the accuracy of this table is just having this seamless giant cast iron top, so you don't have to worry about that center insert sagging over time under the weight or the vibration of the router, because this is all just one big chunk of steel. So I think this is a real step up in the router table world, and I think we'll start to see a lot more of them that are seamless like this, but it just makes so much sense and will certainly increase the accuracy and speed of your work. For more information on this table and other tables that TimberCon offer, you can click on the links below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and we'll have more content for you soon.